So we have several projects already lined up that are waiting for this. What we have done from the facility perspective, so Phil showed you the data center, and it's, it's as secure as anything. That's actually one thing the provost loves about it. He's like, wow, this is really secure. Yeah, because you've got to badge in like 50 times, and there are 40 cameras and all this, and that's great. That's especially great for things like HIPAA and FSMA and compliance. So what we have done is put together all of, and these are, compliance is largely an exercise in documentation, okay? So our standard practices are largely compliant. It's more documenting what those are and getting approval. So from the facility perspective, we did all the documentation that's required from the HIPAA alignment perspective, as well as FSMA using NIST 853 Rev 4. So this will mean something to you if FSMA matters to you, but NIST 853 Rev 4 is about this much paperwork with about 1,000 little checkboxes. Have you done this? Have you done that? How do you do this? So we have then taken that information to the Stanford Data Governance Board, which is the Information Security Office, General Counsel, and the Privacy Office. The group that can say, yes, you can work with the current classification of restricted data or not. So from the facility perspective, that's done. So that's great. Then the devil's actually in the details, right? Because it's great that the facility can accept it, but if you put a server in there that hasn't been deemed compliant or aligned, well, then you're sunk. So we have a project manager from University IT who's working with us and Information Security Office. They have a team member who is not quite joined at the hip with us, but close, on doing that documentation for each of these 17 NIST 853 Rev 4 families about systems and services. And these will be template documents. We intend to provide system administration for servers and systems that require HIPAA alignment or FSMA compliance. But again, you may decide to provide your own system administration for those. So we will at least have template documents that you can start with and then fill in all the pieces. There is no such thing as HIPAA compliance, authorization, certification. We can demonstrate and get auditors to say, and we will, that yes, based on these standards, these meet HIPAA. FSMA is different because FSMA is evaluated and certified by your funding agency, and FSMA applies to every federal contract, okay? As well as some other groups are using it now. It's evaluated and certified annually on a project-by-project basis. So let's suppose Sherlock were deemed FSMA moderate, aligned and compliant and authorized for your project, okay? And then you come with a project from a different agency. That agency may or may not say, oh yeah, this is an acceptable environment. So it's an ongoing process. We hope that by, I would say by May, we'll have the HIPAA pieces approved by the Data Governance Board and auditors and all for an initial project that we've been working on with a faculty member from School of Medicine who has national collaborators. We have other projects lined up behind that. Our target goal for FSMA moderate authorization for 2 other projects will be this summer. It's a process, and it's painfully slow, and unfortunately it's not necessarily something that just throwing more bodies at speeds up, because there are a cast of thousands involved in it. We have done site visits and had conversations with lots of other research universities who have gone down this road. Every research university is going down this road. And sort of the typical time it takes for those is 2 years of work, and usually about $250,000 in external auditor time and review. So it is not a trivial undertaking. But we have to do it because more and more, you think about Stanford, over half of our sponsored research dollars come from the NIH, and many of them, because we're Stanford with the healthcare system, are dealing with clinical data. And so it's something we have to do, and it's not just sort of HIPAA and FSMA. You guys may not be working with data that require that. But just yesterday, email conversation with security, privacy, and faculty in econ who have data from an external provider, and they have security standards associated with that. So having an environment where somebody else has blessed it, whether it's internal audit or external audit, will go a long way for some of the other data sources and providers. After this, we've got a con call with the GSB, another not HIPAA, not FSMA, not patient data. It's data that the provider is saying, ooh, well, if you really want to use this, you need to show me that you meet FSMA moderate standards. And it's like, oh, hey. So it's, that's a long-winded answer to say it's coming, but darn is it slow.
Thanks.
And we don't, you say, well, I'll just go do that in the cloud. Stanford does not have a business associate agreement with Amazon or Google at this point for sort of compute environments. We do with Microsoft for Azure. But that, just because you have like cloud, we have a BAA with Azure. The work still remains. You still have to document, especially from the FSMA perspective, every piece along the way. UT Austin, I was there a few weeks ago, and the auditors, the first set of auditors, were on site with them for about 3 weeks, and it's every detail. Every detail. Hard drives and servers need to be barcoded, recorded, who touched them, who pulled them out of the server, on-site media destruction, you know, in the data center, we'll shred your drive. I mean, it's just, I don't want to say it's crazy, but to a certain extent it's crazy. So we'll get there. And we'll have a big party when we do, because it is quite a process.